Today I'm going to talk about the progress we continue to make with monetizing our intellectual property, in particular our industry-leading cellular and multimedia patent portfolios, both in renewing agreements with our past licensing customers and our initiatives to expand into new areas where our technology is increasingly relevant. The first thing to say is that the intellectual property is a virtuous cycle which both fuels and leverages the full value of Nokia's research and technology leadership. We drive value from intellectual property in three ways. Firstly, differentiated products and services, which we protect with intellectual property. Secondly, freedom to operate, by which I mean ensuring beneficial terms and conditions if we need to rely on third-party IPR. And thirdly, monetization of Nokia's industry-leading patent portfolio. All three are important, but as you have already heard about our progress in products and services in the other business groups' progress update presentation, so today I will focus on monetization of IPR. So in Nokia Technologies, we license our contributions to industry standards to other companies so that they can then build on our patented inventions without having to conduct their own R&D in those relevant technology areas. In return, they pay royalty fees for the use of our technology and inventions, which we then reinvest in developing the next generation of cellular and multimedia technology. It's a wheel that has been turning for many years, powering the growth of the smartphone industry, consumer electronics, video streaming, connected vehicles, and the wider Internet of Things. And it's really no exaggeration to say that all of these are built upon our inventions and contributions to industry standards that Nishant mentioned, along with contributions of others. Before we go any further, just a quick reminder of the scope of Nokia Technologies' remit. We have monetization programs in three areas: the licensing of our patents, the licensing of our proprietary technology, and the licensing of the Nokia brand. Of the three, patent licensing is by far the biggest contributor to our highly profitable and sustainable licensing business, and will be the focus of my presentation today. So working together with Nishant's organization, Nokia Bell Labs, and the other Nokia business groups, Nokia Technologies also has responsibility for ensuring that Nokia remains a leading innovator and contributor of technology to industry standards. We also drive incubation of new technologies, especially in the area of multimedia. For example, we are developing immersive video and audio technologies and piloting new use cases. Nokia is a technology leader and an innovation powerhouse. For more than 30 years, we have defined many of the fundamental technologies used in any device that is connected to a cellular network. And we take a leadership role in standard setting with our standardization experts holding more than 100 board member and other senior positions across all key standardization bodies. We are very much focused on resolving the most complex technical problems and coming up with fundamental high-quality inventions. So as a result, we own one of the broadest and strongest patent portfolio in the mobile communications sector, with around 20,000 patent families, including over 4,000 patent families declared as essential to 5G as of today. and a strong set of multimedia standard essential patents and implementation patents. The portfolio has a long lifetime, with the vast majority of patents still in force in 10 years' time. And we continue to refresh the portfolio with new inventions every year. Last year alone, we filed patent applications on more than 1,500 new inventions, and we expect to file even more in the future as we continue to invest heavily in R&D and standardization. The scope of Nokia's R&D activities includes enhancements and new capabilities for existing products, the development of new products, software and technologies, and our important contributions to open industry standards. Here, our researchers and standardization experts are currently heavily engaged in shaping 5G Advanced, which is due to be released in 2024, and 6G, where we are the project leader of, for example, the European Commission's flagship Hexa-X 6G program. And when it comes to future multimedia standards, we're working in areas such as video and audio coding, extended reality, and video coding for machines. When it comes to assessing the strength of patent portfolios, the one thing that I always tell to people is that it's not just about quantity. You have to look at the quality of the patents, because some patents are more relevant, are more fundamental, and therefore more valuable than others. And in fact, some companies in the industry over-declare, claiming the relevance of lots of patents, even though they may not be truly inventive or not genuinely relevant to the standard. So quality is really crucial, and at Nokia we are very much focused on quality. At our Capital Markets Day event last year, I spoke about how several independent studies have confirmed the strength of our portfolio. And since then, a further study by PA Consulting has concluded that Nokia is #1 for the ownership of granted patents that they found essential to the 5G standard. And as part of our focus on high-quality patents, we announced last summer that we have achieved ISO 9001 certification, the world's best-known standard for quality management, for our patent portfolio management process. This independent certification assessed every step of Nokia's patent portfolio management process, covering the entire lifetime of the patents. We are one of the first companies who have achieved this standard, which is another strong indication of the quality of our portfolio. And in addition, one other measure of strength of a patent portfolio is to prove the value of your inventions in court. And this is something that Nokia has successfully achieved over many years, including our dispute with Daimler, where the courts found in our favor, and most recently in our ongoing dispute with Oppo, where 2 German courts have recently ruled that Oppo is using Nokia's patented technologies in its smartphones and is selling them without a license. And as recently as this week, a Dutch court delivered a similar judgment against Oppo. So in summary, Nokia is one of the few companies that year after year, with numerous patents, has been able to convince courts of the relevance and high quality of our inventions, resulting in positive outcomes for us. As I mentioned earlier, as well as our strength in cellular technology, we also have a strong multimedia patent portfolio. In particular, we excel in video standards, including video compression technology that enables large data files to be shared across the internet. Without this technology, you couldn't stream high-definition video or whole-day video conference meeting, and machine-to-machine video could not be possible. We all were able to work remotely over video during the COVID period, thanks to Nokia engineers having invented fundamental video technologies that make high-speed video image transfer over the internet possible. Our video research and standardization has been recognized with numerous international awards, including 5 Technology and Engineering Emmy Awards, two of which we received in the past 2 years. We continue to make good progress with our licensing efforts in this area. In March last year, we announced a patent license agreement with Samsung, which covers the use of Nokia's video technologies. This deal is separate to our smartphone license agreement with Samsung. And since then, we have also agreed licenses with Lenovo, the world's biggest PC maker, Technicolor, and a well-known Asian consumer electronics company. Given the fundamental strength of our multimedia inventions and the role they play in supporting video streaming and delivery, there is considerable scope to grow our licensing coverage beyond consumer electronics devices to other segments that rely upon our technology. And to bring this to life, I thought that I show you a short video.
Got my first computer when I was 8. I soon started programming, even though I hardly know how to read English, but I got it working, and that was the start of my career.
20 years ago, it took half an hour to download one single image.
Audio compression and video compression were just emerging those days.
Today, 3/4 of the mobile traffic is video. That's why video compression is so critical. For the last 20 years, Nokia has been leading the evolution of video codecs.
I've been working with video compression since the early days. I have been one of the key architects in H.264, as well as H.265 and the successor H.266.
The video coding and video technologies that Nokia has contributed to over the last 30 years, they are integrated to billion devices every year and is really in the heart of all multimedia applications and services.
Codecs have enabled digitization. Without them, we would be in a completely analog world.
We wouldn't have video on demand, we wouldn't have multimedia services in place.
File sizes would be enormous.
Video conferencing wouldn't be possible.
We would have the video compression from 90s. No one wants to see video compression from the 90s.
These technologies that we have developed and standardized enable us to compress video by 99% that then can be delivered to consumers.
The question that we are facing today is, can artificial intelligence actually improve video coding standardization? So we are developing neural networks to tune the codecs to improve the compression even further. I think that the 8-year-old myself would have probably thought that that's absolutely fantastic and cool what the close to 50-year-old me is doing nowadays.
So to reiterate, we have an industry-leading patent portfolio spanning cellular standards, multimedia technologies, and device-related technologies and network technologies. The technologies within these 4 categories include connectivity, user interface, antenna security, AI, machine learning, sensing and sensors, multimedia, and many other emerging technologies. A significant portion of our portfolio are standard essential patents, inventions that have been contributed to industry standards like 5G. and that have to be used in order for a device to or service to comply with these standards. In practice, this means that any device that is connected to any cellular network automatically uses Nokia's intellectual property and requires a license and a royalty payment. And the same is true of our multimedia assets that were showcased here on the video. For example, video streaming would not be possible without our inventions. So these technologies are really essential building blocks for entire industries: smartphones, connected cars, other connected devices and services. None of these would work without our patented inventions. And the same is likely to be true in the future with the metaverse that Nishant talked about, where our cellular and multimedia technologies are expected to play a fundamental role. Now, moving on to monetization. So our successful mobile devices licensing program is the core of our business and provides strong recurring revenue. As you can see from this chart, we have a proven track record for continually renewing our agreements with licensing agreements in place with most major smartphone vendors like Apple, Samsung, and Xiaomi. And in Q3 2020, we renewed a major license agreement in a way that demonstrates the strength of our 5G portfolio. Now, as the adoption of 5G increases, we will continue to add 5G as a new technology to our future agreements, including our renewals. And licensing of 5G represents a good opportunity for us, as its licensing coverage in our agreements is still fairly low. As I briefly mentioned already, we are currently in disputes with Oppo and Vivo over the renewal of their licenses in multiple jurisdictions. While our aim is always to negotiate our agreements amicably, it is inevitable that sometimes we have to resort to courts to protect our rights. As I mentioned, 2 German courts have ruled that Oppo is using Nokia's patented technologies without a license and that Nokia has acted fairly in negotiations. In fact, the German courts have so far found Oppo having infringed 5 of our patents in total, and just this week we received another positive judgment with 2 of our patents in the Netherlands. We remain confident of a positive outcome and are, of course, hoping to resolve the matter soon. That said, the company will prioritize protecting the value of our intellectual property rather than achieving certain timelines. Now, let's look at what's coming up in terms of renewals. The duration of our agreements varies from 3 to 10 years. To put that into context, and as we said at the Capital Markets Day last year, on a 5-year rolling average, around 15 to 20% of our top line each year represents existing large deals that are coming up for renewal. This renewal cycle has started and will continue for the next couple of years. We are well placed to negotiate these renewals thanks to the continued investment in our portfolio and leading position in technologies such as 5G. And our ambition is to work proactively with our licensees to renew these deals, and we are well prepared. As we have seen this year, there can be volatility in our financial results depending on how these renewal discussions develop and the volume of renewals ongoing at any one point in time, and whether we need to litigate or not can influence our costs. But for us, the critical point is that we will always look to protect the value of the portfolio. As well as showing our renewal track record, this slide also highlights the changes in our cash payments to the revenue ratio here at the bottom for the past 8 years. We had some large deals in the past where we took cash in at the beginning of the contract period, resulting in the revenue recognition and cash generation not being in sync. In other words, we received large prepayments in cash at the beginning of the contract term for some past agreements, but we recognize these royalties as net sales over the lifetime of the agreement. This gap is expected to reduce in 2022, but there does remain a delta, which this year we currently expect to be around 450 million euros. Going forward, we remain open to different contract and payment structures, but our ambition is to have a closer alignment between profit recognition and cash generation. Now moving on to areas we see opportunities to grow in. We have made a lot of progress in our growth areas of automotive and consumer electronics over the past 18 months. In automotive in particular, we have had significant momentum. In June last year, we announced a bilateral licensing agreement with Daimler. This important milestone followed a lengthy legal battle, which ended in our favor and which then effectively made the market. Since the Daimler deal was announced, we have struck another bilateral agreement with another major automotive OEM. And in addition, Ford, General Motors, Volkswagen, Hyundai, Kia, and a number of smaller players have agreed licenses with the Avanci pool, of which we are a leading member and which we have continued to make available for automotive OEMs as an alternative to our bilateral licensing. And while licensing maturity is now increasingly high in the automotive space, there remain significant revenue growth opportunities for us. For example, additional automakers agreeing licenses, the growth in the number of connected vehicles on the road increasing our royalties, and the future adoption of 5G, as almost all connected vehicles are still 2G, 3G, or 4G. In our consumer electronics program, again, we continue to make good progress. As I mentioned earlier, we have concluded a number of agreements over the past 18 months, including deals with Samsung, Lenovo, Technicolor, and an Asian consumer electronics firm. And I am confident that more deals will follow in both of these areas. Beyond consumer electronics and automotive, the wider IoT sector will also significantly expand our long-term addressable market from dozens of companies to hundreds of potential licensees, but it will take time to unlock the potential in this area. We expect to use a combination of bilateral agreements and licensing pools. But to put our progress into context, our business in these new growth areas was negligible in 2018 and has grown to over 100 million euros in the past 12 months. Before I wrap up, a few words on our future. As you have seen in our earlier outlook assumptions, we expect largely stable operating profit in Nokia Technologies over the long term. It should be noted, though, that there can be volatility in the business year to year, depending on how quickly we are able to progress with renewals and signing new agreements. The renewal cycle has started and will continue for the next couple of years. We will have to reflect how the smartphone market has evolved, while we also look to grow simultaneously in the new areas that I just talked about. There are clearly risks, but also opportunities ahead of us. So we believe that this is the most balanced outlook assumption for the business as we see it today. And now I'd like to finish with a quick 3-point summary of why I believe that we are well placed to continue to succeed in the long term. So firstly, Nokia has an industry-leading patent portfolio with high-quality cellular and multimedia assets. Continued investment in 5G, 6G, and in multimedia research will ensure the portfolio remains strong and sustainable in the future. Secondly, the renewal cycle has started and will continue, but we have done this before, and as you saw from my earlier slide, we have a proven track record for continually renewing our agreements with licensing agreements in place with most major smartphone vendors. And in cases where litigation has been necessary, our litigation track record is strong. And then thirdly, our fundamental cellular and multimedia inventions enable entire industries, which provides us with the opportunity to expand our licensing coverage, and we are making good progress in the growth areas, automotive, consumer electronics, and so on, which are now providing a meaningful financial contribution to our business with over 100 million euros in net sales over the past 12 months. So when you put these three things together, a leading portfolio, proven track record, and progress in growth areas, it adds up to a highly profitable and sustainable licensing business, which continues to deliver value to shareholders, industry partners, and the next generation of inventors.